Passage number 27. Ready? Comments. Mr. Chairman, I wish to thank you at the outset for giving me this opportunity to take part in this important debate. As we approach the months of February and March, the ordinary citizen is very much afraid of what is going to happen to him because he is usually put to a three-pronged attack on the finances, limited or otherwise, that he may possess. One come from the center, the other from the state, and the third from the corporation or the municipality. I am really happy that on this occasion the state finance minister has been kind enough to spare us from one of these attacks, as he has refrained from levying new taxes. We are not able to comprehend how the revenue is collected, nor are we able to correctly assess how the taxes collected are spent. When the government tell us that a certain amount of revenue is necessary for the proper administration of the state and for meeting the expenditure involved, we are bound as responsible citizens and as those interested in the welfare of the state to support them. At the same time, I feel that it is the duty of the government to place all the relevant facts at our disposal and tell us in clear and unambiguous terms how the money that is collected by way of taxes is spent. If this is not done, I am afraid it will not be possible for us to correctly assess the true position. Whenever they pass any legislation, they should carefully see how far the amount spent on such a measure will be beneficial to the people. For instance, take the Rent Control Act. It is a good piece of legislation in some respects, but all the money that has to be spent on the staff to be appointed has to come from the taxpayer. So it is very necessary to guard carefully whether the money that is spent on the implementation of the act is usefully spent and whether the people whom the government want to help are really getting that help. One of the many difficulties that people experience at present is in regard to those articles over which the government exercise control. Not only do the controls means great deal of expenditure on the establishment that is necessary to work them, but the controls themselves have come to such a state that unfortunately people have begun to feel that these controls are rather engines of oppression because they led to corruption, black marketing, increased prices, and the spiral goes on till inflation affects the country's economy. As long as control on a particular commodity exists, it becomes difficult to obtain it. Our experience in this regard, let me frankly tell you, is that the moment these controls are removed, the commodities become easily available at reasonable prices. So I would like the government kindly to have this aspect of the matter in mind. Sir, let me now deal with that department which has had a great deal of expansion in its activities, namely the Public Works Department. That department has somehow or other earned a reputation none too satisfactory in the public mind. It may be due to some prejudice. Nevertheless, I should like to refer to some important matter in this connection. In regard to many schemes, I am not able to understand why the difference between the original estimates and the revised estimates should have risen to a very large extent. In certain cases, there may, however, be substantial reasons behind such rise, but in a large number of cases, I am of the view that it is due to a certain amount of slackness and want of adequate care on the part of some officer or other. I do realize that the Honorable Minister cannot directly be held responsible for such a state of affairs. Very naturally, he must depend upon his officers to give the correct statement of figures in such matters. In any case, I wish to invite his attention to this fact so that with his great drive and initiative, he may streamline his department in such a way that such lapses may not occur in future. I have just had the pleasure of receiving the report on the administration of the police department. One of the things that strikes me most is the state has recorded a steady increase. It has almost reached the peak. Graph after graph issued year after year shows that crimes are on the increase. The department has no doubt given its reasons in details for this increase. We may not fully agree with those reasons. We may perhaps agree with some of them. The only satisfactory feature of this report is that detection also has increased in number. Sir, I should now like to say a few words about rural welfare and the various steps that should be taken by government in this respect. One of the important schemes to be undertaken for rural upliftment is provision of proper housing. Stop.